I never imagined that the moment I discovered that unfamiliar woman's purple camisole under my boyfriend Jason Reed's pillow would become the turning point of my life and the most liberating moment I'd ever experience. That day, he called me annoying, overly dramatic, useless, never realizing that soon he would be the one kneeling in front of me, crying his eyes out, while I held another man's hand, cherished like something precious. But what I didn't expect was, the real turning point wasn't me leaving Jason, wasn't my new lover Ethan Cooper entering my life, but the accident that almost cost me my life. Only when you reach the end will you know who was truly destined for me and who paid the price for their choices. The sun was warm that morning. When I woke up, Jason was already gone. He said there was an emergency at work. He didn't even eat breakfast. I got out of bed and began making the bed. When I reached under his pillow, my fingers brushed against a piece of fabric that definitely didn't belong to me. A pair of pink lace panties. My hand froze in midair. Suddenly, even the ticking of the living room clock sounded thunderously loud, each second hitting my heart like a hammer. I didn't scream. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even cry. I simply lifted the panties with 2 fingers, walked to the trash can, dropped them in, and went back to making the bed, folding the blanket neatly, as if nothing had happened. It wasn't the first red flag. 3 months ago, I had seen Jason's chat with a girl named Kelly Zhao on his phone. He'd written, "Emily is so boring. You're way more fun." Kelly had replied with a cute emoji. I felt something prick my heart then, but I didn't say a word. I grew up learning not to cry or make noise. During the years my mom was sick, the house was always heavy, silent. My dad told me, "Emily, be good. Mom needs quiet." So I learned to swallow every emotion, eat, sleep, study, smile, quietly. I thought that was what being mature meant. With Jason, I perfected that so-called maturity. If he stayed out until 3 in the morning, I waited without calling. If he forgot my birthday, I said, "It's fine. Work is important." If he got close to another woman, I told myself, "Trust him." But now, the panties sat in the trash can, pink and glaring. I picked up my phone and opened my social media. A month ago I discovered, accidentally, that Jason had set his posts to invisible to Emily, but I remembered Kelly's username from when her message popped up on his phone while he was showering. I opened her profile. Her latest post was from 11 p.m. last night. "Thanks for the movie, Jason. I had so much fun," with a picture of 2 hands intertwined. The watch on the man's wrist was unmistakable, the birthday gift I spent 3 months of savings on last year. Below it was Jason's comment, "Good girl." I stared at that word for a long time. Then I tapped the like button. My heartbeat stayed perfectly calm, terrifyingly calm. A week after finding those panties, I had a miscarriage. That day Kelly called me, her voice syrupy sweet. "Emily, Jason said you have extra movie tickets. Could you give me one? Our department wants to go together." I held my phone tightly, my nails digging into my palm. "I don't have any movie tickets." But Jason said, she sounded hurt. "You believe everything he says?" My voice stayed soft. "Then ask him for the tickets." I hung up and sat on the couch, staring blankly at nothing. Half an hour later, Jason called, sounding irritated. "What the hell was that attitude about? Kelly's just a kid. Why are you picking on her?" I opened my mouth to argue, but in the end only said, "Sorry." Jason didn't come home that night. The next day was Saturday. He said he had to work overtime. I went to the movies alone, bought a ticket for the soonest showing, and sat in the last row. I had no idea what the movie was about. When I walked out of the theater, it was raining. I hadn't brought an umbrella and hurried toward the subway. The pedestrian lights started flashing, so I ran, and then I fell. An electric scooter brushed past me, the driver yelling something before disappearing into the rain. I lay on the wet pavement, a sharp pain ripping through my abdomen. Rain hit my face, mixing with tears. By the time the ambulance arrived, I could barely speak. The doctor asked me for an emergency contact. I gave him Jason's number. He picked up, his tone impatient. "I'm in a meeting." "What is it?" "This is the hospital," the doctor said. "Your partner Emily Shin has had a miscarriage. She needs..." "What?" Jason cut him off. "A miscarriage? She was pregnant? Why didn't she tell me?" "I can't leave right now, just take care of it first." "I'll go later." He hung up. I lay on the stretcher listening to the busy tone, and suddenly, I started laughing until my tears wouldn't stop. After the surgery, I stayed in the hospital for 3 days. Jason didn't show up once. On the 4th day, the nurse asked softly while helping me with the discharge forms, "Your boyfriend still isn't coming?" I shook my head. "He's busy. How will you get home?" "I can go by myself." I dragged my weak body back to the apartment Jason and I shared. As soon as I opened the door, I froze. A pair of pink high heels sat by the entryway, not my size. From the living room came a girl's sweet laughter. I stepped inside and saw Kelly on the couch while Jason fed her fruit. They were sitting far too close. Jason noticed me and blinked. "You're out? Didn't you say you'd stay a week?" Kelly got up, wearing the triumphant smile of someone who believed she'd won. "Emily, are you feeling better?" Jason's been so worried. He barely slept these past few days. I looked at her, then at Jason. Everything suddenly felt absurd. "I'm here to pack my things," I said calmly, too calmly. Jason frowned. "Pack what? Where are you going?" "Home." "Emily, stop it." He grabbed my hand. "You're still not well. Let's talk later." I pulled away and walked into the bedroom. I opened the closet and started packing. My belongings barely filled one suitcase, the proof of how little space I'd ever taken in this home. Jason followed me in, getting anxious. "Emily, what do you want me to say? Kelly and I are just friends. She was upset today, so I let her come over. That's all." I continued folding my clothes. "I know I've been distant, but I'm under huge pressure with my startup. Can't you understand that?" I zipped the suitcase. "Emily." Jason grabbed my wrist. "Look at me." I finally looked at him, the man I'd loved for 4 years. His eyes held irritation, impatience, annoyance at being challenged, but not love and not remorse. "Let go," I said. "I won't. If you walk out that door, we're done." I pulled my hand back and dialed a number I hadn't called in years. Mom answered immediately. "Emily?" "Mom," my voice trembled. "I want to come home." "Okay," she said without hesitation. "Tell me where you are, Dad, and I will pick you up right now." I gave her the address, hung up, and grabbed my suitcase. Jason blocked the doorway. "You called your mom?" "Emily, how old are you? Running to your parents every time something happens? Grow up." Kelly walked over, pretending to be gentle. "Emily, don't be mad. It's all my fault. I'll leave right now, move," I said. Jason refused. "No, you're not leaving until you explain yourself." The suitcase felt heavier by the second. My abdomen still hurt. Cold sweat slid down my forehead. I looked Jason in the eye and said slowly, "Jason, we're over. Now, move." Maybe he finally saw it in my face, the paleness, the emptiness, the resolve. He stepped aside. I pulled my suitcase out of the apartment and walked away. In the elevator, I stared at my reflection, pale, hollow-eyed. I thought of myself 4 years ago, bright-eyed and full of hope. Back then, there was light in my eyes. Now, the light was gone. The airport was crowded. I sat in the waiting area, holding my ticket home. There was still an hour before boarding. My phone buzzed nonstop, missed calls and messages from Jason. The early ones were angry. "Emily, enough. Stop acting crazy." Then frustrated, "Where did you go?" Then panicked, "Please pick up. Let's talk. Please." I didn't respond to any of them. The last message came 10 minutes ago. "I'm on my way to the airport. Wait for me. We can start over." I stared at the words and laughed. Start over? Go back to waiting for him until 3 a.m. Go back to being blocked from seeing his posts? Go back to being afraid to tell him I was pregnant? No. I switched my phone to airplane mode and looked up at the flight board. "Emily?" The familiar voice made my whole body stiffen. I turned. Kelly stood a few feet away, dragging a small suitcase. She wore a cute dress, full makeup, looking like a princess heading on vacation. She walked up to me with a bright smile. "What a coincidence. You're traveling too? Jason didn't drive you here?" I didn't answer. "Oh." She blinked knowingly. "You two argued, right? Jason told me you've been really emotional lately. He's exhausted. You know, men work so hard. You should be more understanding instead of making them comfort you all the time. Are you finished?" I cut her off. Kelly froze. I stood up, took out my wallet, and placed 2 crisp $100 bills in her hand. She stared at them. "What are you doing?" For the movie tickets, I said calmly. The ones you wanted. Consider this compensation. Need more? I can give you more. Her face flushed with humiliation. You think I care about a few $100s? I know exactly what you care about. I pulled my suitcase toward the gate. But Jason and I are over. Whatever you want. You can go ask him for it now. I wish you two happiness. I walked away. Emily, Kelly shrieked behind me. Don't be proud. Jason loves me. He'll forget you in no time. I didn't look back. Hours later, as the plane lifted off, the city shrank beneath the clouds. A wave of relief washed over me, like someone drowning finally breaking through the surface to breathe again. 2 hours later, the plane landed. I walked through the arrival gates and immediately saw my parents. They stood in front of the crowd. Mom held a huge bouquet of red roses. Dad held a sign that read, "Welcome home, our Princess Emily." My eyes instantly filled with tears. Emily! Mom ran over and wrapped me in a tight hug. You're home. You're finally home. Dad took my suitcase and touched my head. You've gotten thinner. In the car, Mom never let go of my hand. She kept asking, "Are you hungry? Tired? Do you want something special for dinner? I'll cook it." I looked out at the familiar streets, and the tears I held back for 4 years finally broke free. I cried uncontrollably, like a child who had endured too much and finally came home. Mom stroked my back gently. Cry, sweetheart. Let it all out. You're home now. You don't have to be afraid anymore. That night, I slept in my childhood bedroom. Mom had changed the sheets. They smelled like sunshine. On the nightstand was a photo of me as a little girl, smiling carefree. I hugged my pillow and slept better than I had in 4 years. On the 3rd day after I returned home, Dad said, "Emily, if you're feeling better, come help me at the company." I blinked. Can I really do that? Why not? Dad smiled. You're my daughter. You've grown up watching me run a business. And you don't need to rush, just get familiar with things first. So on the 4th day, I put on business attire and went with him to work. The Shin Group started in real estate and had expanded into hotels, malls, and more. Dad's office was on the top floor, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the whole city. This is your Uncle Lee, our CFO. This is MS Wang, HR manager. Dad introduced department heads one by one. Everyone was kind and professional, calling me Miss Shin or Emily. They treated me normally, neither flattering me too much nor cold. I was placed in the project department as an assistant, doing basic tasks. I was nervous at first, but quickly adjusted. Work distracted me. My days became routine: wake up early, work, meetings, reports, dinner with my parents. Bit by bit, Jason faded from my mind, until one afternoon, I was organizing meeting notes when my phone rang, a strange number. I hesitated, then answered. "Emily, you finally picked up." Jason's voice burst through the speaker, hoarse, frantic. "Where are you? Why did you block everything? I've been looking for you everywhere." My coworkers could hear his screaming through the phone. I walked into the hallway and whispered, "Jason, we're over. Don't call again." Over? I didn't agree to anything. It doesn't count. His breathing was unstable. "Tell me where you are. I'll come to you. We need to talk face to face." "No, we don't." "Yes, we do." "Emily, I've been thinking a lot. I was wrong, really wrong. Give me another chance. I'll treat you right." I'll cut Kelly off immediately. Jason. I interrupted him. "I don't care about you and Kelly." Silence. I continued. "I don't care anymore. Do whatever you want. It has nothing to do with me now. We're over. Please stop disturbing my life." "I don't believe that," Jason suddenly shouted. "For years. We were together for 4 years. You can't just decide we're done." "Emily, tell me where you are now." I hung up and blocked the number. Back at my desk, my hands were trembling, not from sadness, but from anger. 4 years. And only when I was gone did he start thinking? Too late. That night, I saw a video shared by an old coworker. I tapped it open and saw Jason, in his office, losing his mind. He smashed his phone, screamed at employees, eyes bloodshot, hair a mess, shirt wrinkled, nothing like the professional, composed man he pretended to be. "Find her. Keep looking. If you can't find her, all of you are fired." No one dared speak. Someone whispered off camera. He's been like this for days. Looks like his girlfriend ran away. Video ended. I set down my phone. Heart calm as still water. No satisfaction. No pity. Just like watching a stranger make a scene. Mom knocked and entered with a plate of fruit. Emily, tired from work? Not at all. I smiled. Thanks, Mom. Silly girl. Don't thank me. Mom sat beside me, gently studying my face. You look healthier. Eating well? Yeah. The company cafeteria's great. We chatted a while before she suddenly said, "Oh, by the way, your Uncle Cooper's son is back in the country. Remember him? Ethan Cooper, the boy who used to come over when you were little." I tried to recall. A quiet boy, older than me, always sitting in a corner reading. I remember. Why? Your Uncle Cooper said Ethan is doing very well. He's taken over part of their business. Mom hesitated a moment. He heard you're back and wanted to invite you to dinner. Maybe you two could catch up. I realized what she meant. But surprisingly, I didn't dislike the idea. Sure, I said. Mom looked a little shocked. You're willing? It's just meeting an old friend. I smiled. Don't worry, Mom. I'm not living in the past anymore. Mom's eyes softened with relief, turning slightly red. My Emily, you've really grown up. Ethan and I agreed to meet Saturday afternoon at a cafe. When I arrived, he was already there, sitting by the window, sunlight falling across his clean-cut profile. He wore a simple white shirt and dark slacks, reading through a document with calm focus. I walked over. He lifted his head, saw me, and stood up immediately. Emily, he said my name gently, his voice low and warm. Hi, Ethan. Just call me Ethan, he said, pulling out a chair for me. Please, sit. A server came to take our order. I got a latte. He ordered a black coffee. While we waited, we talked casually. He asked how I was adjusting at the company. I asked about his time abroad. The conversation was easy, natural, no awkwardness, no pressure. When the coffee arrived, Ethan set aside his documents and looked directly at me. Emily, there's something I want to ask you. Go ahead. He didn't hesitate. My father and your father have discussed the idea of joining our families through marriage. I froze. Marriage? That was something I'd only heard in dramas. Why, me? I asked before I could stop myself. Ethan paused, then pulled a folder from his briefcase and slid it toward me. I opened it. Inside were project proposals, financial charts, and on the last page, a photo of me, 18-year-old me, in my high school graduation uniform, smiling shyly. I blinked. What is all this? I've been following Shin Group's development for years, Ethan said calmly, and I've been following you. My breath caught. I know what happened with Jason. I know you returned home and joined your family's company. These proposals, he pointed to the pages, are potential joint projects between our families. If you're willing, we can start as business partners. He paused and looked into my eyes. As for marriage, that idea was mine. But I want to be completely honest with you. This isn't a whim. His voice softened. I've known you far longer than you think. Emily, if you're looking for a reason to start a new life, I'd like to be that reason. I wrapped my hands around my coffee cup, the warmth seeping into my palms. Ethan's words were bold, direct, yet somehow, they didn't frighten me. His sincerity felt steady, grounding. He wasn't pushing me. He wasn't manipulating me. He simply placed the choice gently in my hands. I need time to think, I said. Of course. He nodded. There's no rush. In the meantime, if you'd like, we can just be friends. Or business partners. I'll wait for your answer. We ended up talking for almost 2 hours. Mostly about work. Ethan had sharp insights into the market, and every piece of advice he gave me was practical and thoughtful. When we parted, he walked me to my car. Thank you for coming today, he said. Thank you for being honest, I replied. He smiled, a small smile, but enough to soften his whole face. Drive safe. As my car pulled away, I looked back. He was still standing outside the cafe, his silhouette long and quiet in the setting sun. During the next 2 weeks, I got pulled into an important project at work. I was so busy I barely had time to breathe. Ethan and I texted occasionally, nothing intense. Just industry articles he thought I'd like, or simple greetings. Our communication stayed comfortable and respectful. Jason, however, still hadn't given up. He kept calling from different numbers, sending texts, even showing up near my parents' neighborhood trying to find me. I never responded. The security guards were instructed not to let him in. Then one afternoon, as I walked out of the office for a client meeting, I stopped dead in my tracks. Jason was standing at the entrance. He looked terrible, gaunt, hollow-eyed, unshaven, holding a huge bouquet of red roses. When he saw me, his eyes lit up and he rushed over. "Emily!" He blocked my path. "I finally found you." I stepped back to keep distance. "What do you want?" "I want this." Jason sucked in a shaky breath and suddenly dropped to one knee. People walking by slowed down, staring. "Emily Shin," he said loudly, holding up the roses. "I know I was wrong. I know. I've thought so much these past weeks. I can't live without you. Please, give me another chance. I promise I'll be good to you. I'll spend my whole life making it up to you. Marry me, please." More people gathered, whispering. Some started recording. I looked at him, kneeling there with flowers, a ring box shaking in his hand. For years ago, I used to dream of this moment. I imagined him proposing 1,000 different ways, each one making my heart race. But now all I felt was absurdity. "Jason," I said calmly, "what are you doing?" He blinked, confused by my reaction. "I'm proposing, Emily. I know I messed up, but I'll change. I swear, Jason." I cut him off. "We're done. Please get up and leave." "I won't. Not until you say yes." His voice grew frantic. "Emily, how can you be so heartless? For years, you can't just walk away." People crowded closer. Whispers. Phone cameras. Pointing fingers. It all made my skin crawl. I tried stepping around him, but he shifted to block me. And then, a cool, steady voice came from behind me. "Sir, are you proposing to my girlfriend in public?" Every head turned. Ethan stepped out of a sleek black car, dressed impeccably in a tailored suit, his movements calm and deliberate. He walked straight to my side, took my hand naturally, and looked down at Jason with an expression colder than ice. Jason's face drained of color. "Who the hell are you?" "Ethan Cooper," he said, "Emily's boyfriend." His tone was level, but left no room for argument. "Your actions constitute harassment. Should I call the police?" "Boyfriend?" Jason jumped to his feet. He glared at me. "Emily, is this true? You already have a new boyfriend?" I didn't answer. I only tightened my hold on Ethan's hand. Ethan stepped forward, shielding me. "Mr. Reed, please leave. If this happens again, I'll pursue legal action." He didn't yell. He didn't raise his voice. But his presence alone was enough to crush the fight from Jason. Jason's lips parted helplessly. He looked at me, desperate, broken. "Emily, leave," I said quietly. Jason's eyes reddened. He looked at the roses in his hand, then threw them onto the ground. The bouquet exploded on the pavement, petals scattering everywhere. He turned and walked away. People dispersed. Ethan released my hand, looked down at me. "You okay?" "I'm fine." I took a breath. "Thank you." "Of course." He checked his watch. "You're meeting a client, right? I'll drive you." We sat in silence most of the ride. Near the destination, Ethan spoke. "What I said earlier. I hope it didn't make you uncomfortable." "What part?" "Calling you my girlfriend." I thought about it, then said softly, "What if I told you it didn't make me uncomfortable?" Ethan's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He glanced at me, surprise flickering into quiet joy. Then, he said, voice low and warm, "I'm honored." And just like that, my relationship with Ethan became official, naturally, quietly, without drama. There was no grand confession, no poetic promises, no fireworks, just two people who were meant to meet, finally walking into each other's orbits at the right time. Ethan started picking me up from work every day. On weekends, he introduced me to his friends. Sometimes he brought me small gifts, not expensive jewelry, but thoughtful things, a book I had mentioned once in passing, a vintage record I couldn't find anywhere, a little office plant he said would brighten my desk. His love was calm, steady. It didn't suffocate. It didn't demand. It simply enveloped me gently. With him, I didn't have to tiptoe around anyone's bad mood. I didn't have to guess what he was thinking. I didn't have to apologize just for wanting to be loved. 1 month later, with both families present, we officially got engaged. The engagement party was small, just close friends and relatives. When Ethan placed the ring on my finger, his hands were trembling. I looked up and saw his eyes turning slightly red. Nervous? I whispered. Yeah, he admitted honestly. I'm scared you won't like the ring. I'm scared the ceremony isn't grand enough. I'm scared you'll regret this. I smiled. I don't regret it. That night, as Ethan drove me home, he suddenly said, "There's something I haven't told you." "What is it?" "I've known you much longer than you think." He kept his eyes on the road. "When you were 16 and played Claire de Lune at the city piano competition." I was in the audience. I froze. 16. My 6th year of learning piano. My last public performance before my mom got sick. "You were there?" I whispered. "My cousin was competing. I was just accompanying her," he said softly. "But when you walked on stage, the whole auditorium went quiet. You wore a simple white dress, a tiny hair clip, and you closed your eyes before you began playing. In that moment, the world felt still. My nose stung suddenly. I went abroad after that," Ethan continued. "But sometimes I asked relatives about you. I knew you got into college. I knew you dated someone. I knew you were doing well, or not well." He drew a breath. "I know it sounds strange, but I couldn't help it. Emily, I've liked you since you were 16. I waited 9 years for you to finally look my way." I didn't know what to say, so I simply held his hand tightly. After the engagement, life was peaceful. I continued working. Ethan continued working. The only difference was that we saw each other more often, and our family's business collaboration officially began. I represented the Shin Group, and often attended meetings side by side with Ethan. One afternoon, after finishing a meeting and heading toward the parking garage with Ethan, a familiar figure suddenly rushed toward me. "Kelly." I froze. She looked terrible, hair messy, eyes swollen, bruises on her face. She ran straight at me, wild and hysterical. "Emily, it's all your fault. All of it." Ethan reacted instantly, pulling me behind him, just as Kelly yanked something out of her bag and hurled it toward us. A bottle, and the liquid inside glinted as it flew. Everything slowed. I saw the arc of transparent fluid cutting through the air. I smelled the sharp, acidic odor. I heard the splash as it hit Ethan's back. Acid. Security guards rushed over and tackled Kelly to the ground. She screamed and thrashed wildly, completely unhinged. Ethan loosened his arms around me, his face pale. His first words were, "Are you hurt? Did any hit you?" "No, I'm fine." I stared at the corroded patch on the back of his jacket, horrified. "Ethan, your clothes, your back." "I'm okay," he said softly. I was wearing a bulletproof vest. There was a security briefing today. They made us wear them. My knees almost gave out. Ethan held me upright. "It's okay," he murmured. "It's over." The police arrived quickly and arrested Kelly. As she was dragged into the squad car, she shrieked, "Jason loves me. He only loves me. Emily, you can't take him. You'll never take him." Her voice echoed through the parking structure, twisted, desperate, broken. At the police station, after giving our statements, Ethan insisted I get checked at the hospital. Only when doctors confirmed I hadn't been touched by even a drop did he finally relax. "You really weren't hurt?" I asked anxiously. "Not at all," he reassured me. "The vest blocked everything. Just a few drops hit my sleeve. They already treated it." I let out a shaky breath. Kelly's eyes, that unhinged, vicious madness, still haunted me. "How did she become like this?" I whispered. Ethan hesitated before answering quietly, "Jason's company is collapsing. He's out of money, in debt, begging everywhere." Kelly thought he'd marry her, but Jason told her that he never loved her, that the only woman he ever loved was you. I froze. "Jason hired a private investigator to track you," Ethan continued. "He found out about our engagement. Then he told Kelly everything. Told her he only used her to provoke you. She couldn't handle it. Her mental state broke." Before I could respond, my phone rang, an unfamiliar number. I hesitated, then answered. "Emily." Jason's voice, shaky, hoarse, almost unrecognizable. "Did Kelly go to you? Did she hurt you?" God, Emily, I'm sorry. This is all my fault. I didn't know she'd go that far. I'm fine. I cut him off. Don't worry about me. He let out a strangled sob. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Emily, today, when I was packing my things, I found something. A picture message came through. It was my hospital report from the miscarriage. Pregnancy, 8 weeks. Outcome, miscarriage. A sharp, fragile silence filled the line. That baby, Jason's voice broke completely. It was ours? You were pregnant? Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you? Because telling you wouldn't have changed anything, I said quietly. When I called you from the hospital, you said you were in a meeting. You told them to take care of it. Jason, you were the one who let that child go. Silence. Then, a guttural cry, the kind made by someone breaking apart from the inside. I hung up and blocked the number. Ethan gently took my hand. Do you need anything? I shook my head and leaned against him. Just stay. That's all I need. Kelly was officially arrested for attempted assault, and she would be facing a long legal process. Jason's company declared bankruptcy shortly after, and he disappeared for a while. Some said he went back to his hometown. Others said he left for the South, but no one knew for sure. My life, however, returned to peace. 2 months after our engagement, Ethan took me to try on wedding dresses. The designer, an internationally renowned Chinese-American designer, flew in specifically to measure me. Inside the fitting room, I stared at myself in the mirror. The white gown, the delicate veil, the simple engagement ring on my finger. The woman looking back at me had clear, steady eyes and a soft smile. So different from the Emily who collapsed in the rain months ago. Beautiful, Ethan said from behind me, watching me through the mirror. Thank you. I smiled. Are you nervous? Just 1 month until the wedding. He paused for a few seconds. I can't wait. What? Ethan suddenly took my hand. Are you free right now? Yes. But, then come with me. He pulled me out of the bridal boutique. His driver was already waiting outside. Once we got into the car, Ethan said one word, City Hall. I blinked. City Hall? Why? To get married. My jaw dropped. Right now? But, what about our documents? He reached into his briefcase and pulled out a neatly organized folder. Inside were both our IDs, household records, and medical certificates. I've been preparing for a month, he said calmly. As long as you say yes, we can get our marriage license today. I stared at him. Ethan Cooper, this was premeditated. Yes, he said without shame. From the day you agreed to get engaged, I started planning this. Emily, will you marry me? Not in a month, today. Now. I didn't even think. Okay. City Hall wasn't busy. Within 30 minutes, we had our marriage certificates. When the clerk handed us the 2 red booklets, Ethan's hand trembled. He opened his booklet, looked at the photo, the date, and his eyes turned red. Finally, he whispered. Finally, I get to marry you. We walked out into warm, golden sunlight. Ethan held my hand tightly. Now, he said, there's somewhere I want to take you. Where? My home. Not the new apartment we planned to move into, but the house he grew up in. It was an old American-style home with a yard full of roses. Ethan led me upstairs to a room at the end of the hall. He unlocked the door. I stepped inside and froze. The room had no furniture, no bed, no desk, nothing. Except photos. Every wall was covered with photos of me. 16-year-old me playing piano. 18-year-old me at graduation. 20-year-old me at a college event. 23-year-old me speaking at a company gala. Recent photos of me and Ethan, some clearly taken secretly. Every photo had a neatly written date, arranged chronologically. A timeline of 9 years. 9 years of my life, collected, preserved, cherished. I touched the wall gently. Some photos I didn't even remember being taken. Ethan wrapped his arms around me from behind, resting his chin on my shoulder. Did I scare you? I shook my head, but tears fell anyway. You've been watching me all this time? Yeah. His voice was soft, like a thief stealing pieces of your life, to build something that only belonged to me. Emily. I know it's obsessive, but I couldn't help it. I waited 9 years for you to finally walk toward me. I turned, stood on my toes, and kissed him. It was a long, slow kiss, filled with 9 years of longing, with gratitude, with the sweetness of finally finding home. When we parted, we were breathless. Ethan rested his forehead against mine. I love you, Emily, from 16 until the end of my life. I love you too, I whispered. Maybe I'm late to the story, but we have the rest of our lives. I'll make up the time. 1 week after we got our marriage license, I received news Jason was in a car accident. He'd been driving while mentally unstable, ran a red light, and was hit by a truck. His injuries were severe, though he survived the emergency surgery. He fell into a coma. The doctors said they didn't know when, or if, he would ever wake up. I heard the news while discussing wedding details with our planner. An old mutual acquaintance called me, speaking cautiously. I stayed silent for a long time, then said, "Thank you for telling me." After hanging up, I walked to the window. The sky outside was streaked with orange and pink. Soft, peaceful, nothing like the storm inside my chest. Ethan came over, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind. "Do you need to see him?" he asked gently. I shook my head. "No." "Does it hurt?" he asked quietly. I thought for a moment. "No. And I don't hate him anymore either. I just feel sorry, I guess." I exhaled slowly. Sorry that he lived his life this way. Ethan tightened his embrace. "It's all in the past," he whispered. "Yeah." I leaned back against him. "It really is." The wedding day sunshine filled the venue. I walked down the aisle in my custom-made gown, my father beside me. At the end of the aisle stood Ethan, in a black tuxedo, eyes gentle and full of light, like I was the only person in the world. When we exchanged rings, my hands trembled. His did too. The officiant laughed. "Looks like our bride and groom are both nervous." Guests chuckled warmly. Later, during the reception, I ran into a former coworker. She congratulated me, then lowered her voice. "Did you hear about Jason?" I nodded. "Sigh, such a pity," she said. "But honestly, he brought it on himself. Emily, seeing how happy you are now, I'm really glad for you." "Thank you." I smiled. "Oh, by the way," she leaned in, "some people were gossiping, saying you left him because he went bankrupt." I shut them down right away. "I told them you moved back home way before that." I laughed lightly. "It doesn't matter. People can think whatever they want." "That's true." She looked at Ethan across the room. "He's so good to you. His eyes follow you everywhere." I glanced over, even while talking to his friends. Ethan's gaze drifted toward me every few seconds. When he caught my eye, he smiled and mouthed, "On my way." My coworker sighed. "Ugh, you two are too sweet." "So, how did you meet? Was it arranged by your parents?" "Something like that." I paused, then added, "But arrangements only create opportunity. The real story is love." She blinked, not fully understanding, but nodded anyway. "And you really don't think about Jason anymore?" she asked. I looked around, the guests laughing, my parents smiling proudly, Ethan walking toward me with steady steps. Then I said, "I'm too busy marrying the love of my life to think about my past." At that moment, Ethan reached me and naturally took my hand. "What are you two talking about?" he asked with a smile. "You," I replied. He raised an eyebrow. "Oh, what about me?" "We were discussing why you're so handsome." He chuckled, leaned close to whisper, "Save that for when we get home. Behave for now." After the reception, we returned to our new home, a high-rise apartment downtown with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city lights. I changed out of my wedding dress into soft loungewear and stood by the window. Ethan came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. "Tired?" he asked. "A little, but it's a happy kind of tired." We stood quietly together, looking at the glittering city. Then Ethan spoke softly, "Emily, thank you." "For what?" "For choosing a 31-year-old man when you're only 25. His voice was full of emotion. "Thank you for believing that someone can love you, not because you're obedient or patient or selfless, but simply because you're you." I turned and looked at him. His eyes filled with warmth. "My turn," I said gently. "Thank you for appearing when I was at my lowest, for showing me that I deserve love and tenderness and to be cherished." He kissed my forehead, then led me to the living room. On the table was a framed photo, a snapshot from our wedding earlier that day. I was smiling brightly. He was looking at me like I was his entire world. "This will be my first picture in the collection," he said. "And the second?" I asked. "Our child's picture," he said without hesitation. "The third, us growing old together." He looked at me with certainty. I'll keep collecting them, every moment, every memory, until our story reaches the final page. I hugged him tightly, my face buried in his chest. Ethan, I whispered. Yes, I love you. He held me even closer. I know, and I love you. Emily, in the past, now, and for all the days to come. Outside, the city lights glowed like fallen stars. In their warmth, I finally found my way home, not to my parents' house, not to the apartment I once shared with Jason, but to someone's heart. A place where I was treasured, a place where I belonged. For the first time, I wasn't the Emily who begged for love. I was the Emily who was loved, who loved herself, who finally learned to live for herself. And this was only the beginning. Thank you for watching this video. If you have any thoughts about this story, feel free to share them in the comments section. Here is Roses and Love, sharing stories about marriage and women every day. See you tomorrow.